Theo, sit, 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 please sit, sit. I'm telling you to sit. Please, why don't you sit? Hi, I'm Saba Poonawala and I'm the co-founder of the Pune-Chennai Dog Training Academy. I use positive reinforcement training methods in training your dog such that they bring out a lasting result, and I also build a bond between you and your dog. I've been in the field for about practically my whole life, if I have to think about it. More so after I got married and I moved to Chennai. I've studied the same. So I did a 4-year course in Pune with my teacher. I had over 75 animals that have owned me or I have owned them. I don't understand the dynamic, but 75 of them have been a part of my life's journey so far. And it's been absolutely wonderful to have them. The reason why I primarily got into dog training is because I had rescued a dog, a Labrador Retriever, and he was the light of my life. And because he was a rescue, he came to me with certain challenges or certain behavior patterns which I would not understand. Imagine a dog that would not want to sit next to you but would prefer to sit 5 to 6 feet away from you. And this drove me insane. So that's when I reached out to many people and I read a lot of books on the same, and that's what really got me going into the field. By the end of it, the dog lived a beautiful life. He passed away on my lap. Some wonderful memories with him, but that's why I'm here. Because I know that there are very, very good families that have dogs. They really care about their dog, but there's this lack of awareness, lack of education, and there's a gap, a void somewhere, which is where I come in. I will bridge that void, and I will make you have a sustainable, loving and fulfilling relationship with your dog. So what got me into dog training is actually my teacher, Mr. Tamboli. I wanted to teach Theodore, my dog, the dog that I have right now, on how to retrieve a bottle of water from a drawer, wherein he would go to the drawer, open the drawer, pick up the bottle of water, come hand it over to me in my hand, go back and close the drawer. And this I thought was a fun trick that we would do, but little did I know it would take a lot of time. I was not training back then, although I did know base of how to go about it, but of course I was not so sure. So I called up a couple of trainers who said there's positive reinforcement that was being used. They had no idea of what positive reinforcement was. I had people that told me I'm crazy, it's an impossible task, my dog can't do it, I'm being unrealistic. People to avoid me told me that people in their family had fallen sick and they never answered the call after that. But then I came across Mr. Tamboli, who is he's the guiding force, he's a father figure, and he's the best teacher that any student could ask for, who told me, Saba, I would come over, and I'm even entertaining this because I find it a little, it's different. It's not what the average person would ask me to do. And he saw my interest in dogs, and he saw that I have a knack, and maybe it's just having so many animals around me, maybe it's just, some people are just, they have their way with a certain something. Some people can be good at art, some people can be good at cooking. I'm just good with animals. So he told me, why don't you join me and why don't you train with me? And I was completely blown. I thought it was a once in a lifetime opportunity, and of course I didn't let it go. And my whole life has been filled with dogs thereafter. He taught me for 4 years, and it's been the best 4 years of learning that I had. This all happened back in Pune. Now the cases that I assisted him on were primarily cases of aggression. And when I mean aggression, I mean a very, very ferocious dog, gravely misunderstood. We are the last hope for the dog. So primarily it's use of positive reinforcement techniques with these dogs, and how you use the technique correctly to get the best possible result, best possible output, which lasts for life. You can use negative reinforcement training methods which will eventually break the spirit of your dog, and you may get a quicker result, but that's not what having a pet is about, and that's not something that any of us would want to advocate with our dog. So it's subtle use of techniques which I learned over 4 years. Every case was different. There were dogs that were, there was aggression which was based out of fear. There was aggression which was food related. There were resource guarding issues. There were issues wherein there was lack of mobility in the dog. There was no bond between the pet and the pet parent. How do you establish all of this? You will get a lab, and the lab is so hyper that you don't know how to handle it. Wrong dog going to the wrong family type, like a family type which is living a very sedentary lifestyle. For them to have a dog like a Jack Russell Terrier, absolutely wrong. But if they can manage to give that dog that kind of exposure, that kind of activity, that kind of energy expulsion of what is needed, then it's a great family dog. I mean, like I've always maintained and I've always said, the dog is not really the problem. It is us and managing the dog and managing the dog's temperament. We need to learn this. And all of this was taught to me over my 4-year study by the world's most wonderful teacher, Mr. Tamboli. So I got married peak lockdown, and the first 1.5 year of my marriage was within lockdown. And after some time, I realized that, I want to pursue my passion, which of course is with animals. And there's nothing that gives me more happiness. There's no more joy that I get than feeling internally that I have solved a family's problem when it came to them and their dog. That's when I said, okay, let's start the Pune-Chennai Dog Training Academy in Chennai, hence the name Chennai. Otherwise, I was just in Pune. And it's been a roller coaster ride, but such a fun roller coaster. Roller coaster for the only reason because Chennai is hot and because the distances are quite a bit here. But it's been the most fun ride, and I love every bit of what I do. So a few challenges that I've faced in Chennai with the dog training is, it's really never the dog. It's primarily the owner. And challenges that the pet owner has. Now, like I said, there are irresponsible pet owners as well, but there are also pet owners that really love their dog, and they're stuck in some place, and that's where I come in. An irresponsible pet owner, wherein I've actually told them, please give your dog up for adoption and rehome your dog to a loving family, because this dog doesn't deserve what is happening to it. It's a family that had a German Shepherd, full grown, and Chennai is very hot. Temperatures are above 35 degrees here. The last thing that your dog will want, especially a long-coated German Shepherd, would be to be outside in the Chennai blistering heat, and the food and water bowl was not cleaned for, I don't know, maybe about 10 days, 15 days. It was so bad that the water bowl had algae and moss, inside it, or whatever the green stuff is. It was filled with that. So irresponsible pet owners are there. At the same time, you have some wonderful pet owners that generally get stuck. They don't know what to do. They're doing everything right in their opinion. And the minute I'll get into the picture and I'll tell them that this is what needs to be done, that's where we see the difference. And you can see such a lovely bond built between the pet owner and the pet themselves. So a simple example would be of a Shih Tzu that I've worked with. The Shih Tzu had a lot of gut related issues. So as a puppy, he was a little weak. But the minute the pet owner understood where the problem is lying and worked in that area, that dog can now jump over hurdles. If not hurdles, the dog will go into a tunnel. It will go to different places, does the most amazing heel work with so much of focus. And you can just see how this dog and this owner, both of them have blossomed into a beautiful companionship. So a big part of dog training are the training treats. Now, training treats is not a different concept. It's what you give your dog. Dogs prefer meat-based. There are some dogs I understand that like vegetarian food, but primarily, at least all that I've worked with so far, have a preference towards meat-based treats. Avoid giving too much of junk food to your dog, because eventually, it comes into the gut, and imagine you having an irritable gut. So that can also be a reason why your dog is cranky often, or itself will not go towards food which it knows that is causing it problem. Which is why with all the pet parents, I keep coming back to training treats or treats that you give your dog. I will encourage them to take wholesome foods that are there. If they're vegetarian families, they can be, carrots, sweet potatoes. Make treats, make ragi based treats, make, rice flour based treats, anything that you know that's going to suit your dog and its gut. At the same time, I would encourage them to get in for some meat flavored treats. Now, my personal favorite is Oscar and Daisy. I've been using it all through my training days. I still use it. Today, Theo is, working with those treats as well. Very, very nutritious. You know that it's not junk food that's entering your dog's body. You know it's not going to spoil the coat. It's not going to give an allergy. And it's not going to give your dog loose motions or absolutely any kind of vomiting that comes across. So when your dog is working for something that is high value, that is where you'll see, a maximum result coming out. Now, if you give your dog a low value treat and you expect your dog to do 20 commands with a low value treat, subconsciously this dog is not going to be as driven driven towards it. Now again, I'm talking of initially starting off with your dog. By the end of it, you can do even 50 commands with your dog and lure your dog with maybe a toy, or lure your dog with absolutely anything that it likes, or simply even a praise. But these are very, very advanced cases. But when you're starting, your dog's only motivation is food, and don't ever cut that from your dog, in my opinion. So what is the importance of training, and why is it so important to train your dog? So a trained dog in the house makes your life very simple. It cuts down issues like separation anxiety. Most importantly, it builds a bond. So every trick that you have that your dog does, there is a reason behind it. Why will your dog go into a down position? That is a submitting position. So while you feel, oh, training is not so important, we've never trained any of our dogs, they've landed up being perfectly fine, it's not really a necessity. In my opinion, it is a necessity. It's more like sending a child to school. Now, you would not really not send your kid to school, right? What happens when you go to school? When you go to school, you learn new things, your brain works, your emotional ability is tapped on, your physical ability is tapped on. So training covers all of these aspects. Now, when we talk about training, it's not that you have to train your dogs for hours on stretch. No, you have about 5 minutes with your dog. This is very important for you to build a bond with your dog, so that tomorrow if you want to take your dog out to a cafe, or you want to, you're having guests that come home and you want your dog to listen to you, you're not going to be telling your dog, Theo, sit, 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 please sit, sit, I'm telling you to sit, please, why don't you sit? We don't have any of this that's going on. It works in one command. There's a beautiful bond between you and your dog. He's listening to you. You're working with him. You don't even need so many rewards by the end of it. His reward is to spend time with you and to spend time with the guests. Perhaps after the guests go, because he's been such a good boy, that's where he gets a treat. And like I said, we have Oscar Daisy's treats. Maybe he just gets something from there.